Good morning, everybody. All right, it is a great pleasure to welcome you all to our office. We're going to go ahead and get started on Game Plan, our year-end seminar. And it's my pleasure to introduce our Chief Operating Officer, John Griffin.
Hello. Hi, good morning. Everyone hear me? This is Don, right? Thank you for coming out today. It's a beautiful Richmond morning right now in November. If you had to come from the west, you might have seen some snow. So it looks a little hairy out there, but appreciate everyone coming in. I know we have a lot of people online dialed into our webinar. We have people from states in all of our branches. So we have North Carolina, Florida, Texas, Tennessee. So welcome everyone. Just wanted to give a couple updates before I turn it over here. Just a little bit of some things that have gone on since we were here last year for our year-end seminar. So we've had an exciting year. We added an office this year in Dallas, Texas. A wonderful group down there, some great clients. It's a great expansion for our footprint to get more into the Dallas and Texas region. We've added over 25 employees since last year. We've experienced a lot of good growth. We've added over 500 clients as well. So we're fast and furious. We're continuing with the recruiting. We've got this great space, this great building, these great clients. It's an exciting time to be part of our organization. Couple proud moments we've had. Sorry about that. Cut out for a minute. We won some awards. So we made the Inc. 5000 list for the 9th year in a row. That's something we're very proud of. That's great. Great consistency. We won the Chamber of VA Hype Young Professional Award back in the spring. That is an award that recognizes organizations that have commitment to developing young professionals in our area, in the Richmond region. And really just 2 days ago, won Richmond Impact Award. So this cool little plate over here is actually a really important piece for us. It's that award is based on how you contribute to the community and how much you do for the community with your partners, with just being a good community citizen. That is something that's very important to us as an organization, and we're very, very proud of that. So thank you. Thank you. Speaking of the community, we've our associates, and this is just here in the Richmond area, have volunteered over 200 hours this year in community service. Different organizations, nonprofits, partners, clients that we've worked with. Something we're really proud of. We've also donated over $35,000 to some of our nonprofit organizations. The CKG Foundation is obviously one of our bigger ones. But that is something that we're really proud of. Most recently, we had a little fun with it, with some folks getting pies in the face. Not sure whose idea that was, because I was sipping on one of those pies, along with David Gallagher and David Franken. Luckily, they did it as well. But we raised over $1,800 for the Virginia Breast Cancer Foundation. So that's something we're proud of. You'll notice there's a lot of folks around the office. The men of CKG are doing a little bit November thing. So apologize for the awkward facial hair that you might see and mustaches that maybe didn't exist prior to November 1st. It's all for a good cause. We're halfway through the month. I'm hoping that we'll have a good splash by the end of the month for that. So this year, just a little bit of a different tweak on things with this event. We have some guest speakers coming in that we're really excited about to focus a little bit more on health and wellness, mindfulness, ways to deal with stress. This is a time of year when things get stressful, not just for people in our business and our clients and dealing with year-end and what they need to do by certain deadlines, but just in general, it's a stressful time of year. So hopefully that will be something that we here in the room and also folks online will get some benefits from. So we are just a couple of things. We are going to save questions and answers till the end. If you can just refrain, we will have a team of folks that are able to answer if you have any specific questions that you'd like to talk with us about. We'll have folks that will be hanging around afterwards, and we'll be able to help you out with that. So with that, oh, and one more thing, if anyone has any other specific questions you remember after you leave, email training@dominionpayroll.com. We will take, obviously, all of our questions that way. that come up from today. So I'm going to hand it over to David Hassick. He's our Director of Client Services. And he handles our customer service team. And he's going to talk to you a little bit about fringe benefits and some best practices.
Thanks, John. Also, wait a minute, hold up, John. I just want to make sure everybody knew that we did not actually plan this before the meeting. So, all right. Thank you. And welcome again. Is this working? Or not?
It was working when we tested it 5 minutes.
It always works when we test it. Bear with us. Okay, well, show of hands. How many people have attended the seminar in previous years? And you're still coming back. That's great. All right. How many first-time attendees today? All right, good. So I hope you guys get some value out of today's meeting. Thank you. Let's see. How many people are super excited about fringe benefit reporting? All right, I'm not going to take that personally, but and then how many people are actually planning on reporting fringe benefits to us this year? Just 2 or 3? Do we need to do this today? All right. And I will talk about bonus payroll runs towards the end. So I'm pretty sure how many people will be doing that at some point this year. Okay, quite a bit more. All right. I don't have the whole thing memorized, so I do need something.
All right, let's just go ahead.
It's not working? Okay. All right, go ahead. All right, I think I covered all that. All right, so the basics. Who, what, when, where, and why. The who, customer service at dominionpayroll.com. That's our standard servicing email. Please send all your questions, inquiries, everything you're afraid to ask about fringe benefits to that email box, and we will take care of those for you. When? As soon as possible, obviously, but any reporting does need to be done before your last payroll run of 2018. So if you your last payroll and then realize you've got to send some reporting in, that's going to be an adjustment run. It could be subject to some additional fees. So plan now, make sure we get it in before you finish your payroll runs for 2018. Okay. There's some important dates up here. I've bolded the Federal Reserve Bank holidays. DP is closed on those dates. So please keep that in mind when you're submitting your inquiries and requests. The other date I want to call out is Friday, December 28th. That is going to be the last business day to submit a payroll for calendar year 2018. These dates will be in this presentation uploaded to our website afterwards, so you don't have to write them all down. Okay. All right, so let's start in. So fringe benefits, IRS has their definition. We basically just use it as a catch-all term for non-cash compensation that's usually reported as a lump sum at the end of the year. Common fringe benefits include the list there. I've started moving expenses. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Does anybody have anything they're going to report that's not on that list? No? Okay. All right, next slide, please. Okay, so what's changed in 2018? So moving expenses are still a fringe benefit. The main change is that the employer or the employee can no longer deduct it. So as an employer, if any of you guys are actually reporting that or paid moving expense reimbursements, you're still going to do it the same way, but the employee can no longer do it as a tax-free deduction. So that may be a heads up you want to give any employees so they find out now rather than when they file in the spring. Okay. All right, so let's start in. So group term life, I think probably everybody's pretty familiar with this. This is probably the most numerous and most common fringe benefit that we work with our clients. Generally, you can exclude, whoop. All right, I can't talk that fast.
Let's see. Yeah, give that a shot. All right, so let's go back. There you go.
All right. Oh, I got a thing too. Cool. All right. There we go. All right. So group term life. So you can generally exclude up to $50,000 in coverage. Again, this is coverage that the employer pays for their employee. Only coverage in the amount greater than $50,000 is taxable and reportable. You will use an IRS tax table to figure out what that benefit and the taxable amount is. It is subject, of course. And then here's a standard calculation. So the IRS age table is on the right. Employee salary of $40,000. A typical coverage plan may be 2 times the salary. In this case, that's $80,000. The taxable amount is actually only $30,000. That's the amount over 50. You plug in your numbers, use the age table. In this example, it comes out to a $32.40 benefit that's taxable and reportable for this particular employee. Employer paid insurance. This typically covers 2% or more shareholders in an S corporation. Is anybody going to be reporting that this year? Out of the 3 people who raised their hands? Just 1? Okay. Have you done that before? Okay. So in this case, the shareholders may have post-tax deductions. In many cases, the employer pays for their health insurance premiums. That's the part that is taxable and reportable. Oops, sorry about that. And then auto allowances. There's a bunch of different kind of vehicle-related benefits. The 2 most popular that we see are personal use of company car and then a cash allowance that's out there. Is anybody planning on reporting that this year? Bless you. Okay. Please refer to the IRS publication 15B. That's going to be your go-to guide for all of this. There's several different ways to value auto allowances, and they're covered in that publication. All right, bonus payrolls. So I noticed most people raise their hands on this. Again, this can cover performance bonuses, profit sharing or distributions, holiday bonuses, and then also non-cash compensations such as gift cards or other awards that have a monetary value. Again, how many people are going to report some sort of bonus or run? Okay, thanks, Maury. All right, so let's talk about how it's done. Starting with the client prep. So that's you. This is what you guys should be doing right now. Checking your valuation, your class of employee, and your taxabilities. I put a note on here. A lot of our clients will withhold only FICA and Medicare. That's really up to you and how you guys want to do the taxes. If you don't withhold any of the Fed or state, then the employee will kind of true that up when they file in the spring. So once all that's gathered up, call or email DP. Let us know what you want to do. Are you getting some feedback? Call or email Dominion Payroll. Let us know what you want to do. We will send you an email with an electronic link in there to an electronic form. You'll complete the form. It allows you to update or attach a spreadsheet that is uploadable. We can upload that straight into your pay grid to streamline it. Once we get it back, then obviously we take care of the rest. I want to talk about the electronic forms for a little bit. Those of you guys who have been with us for a while probably noticed that the process has changed a little bit. We started trying to streamline this 2 years ago. I think we've got it down pretty well this year. The electronic form is really a way for us to make it quicker and efficient for both you and for us. The agent who sends the form gets an alert when it comes back, so they know exactly when it comes back. They can take a look at it right away. So it allows for better tracking, allows for a better audit process, and a quicker audit process. It also gives you a way to kind of eyeball everything that you're doing for fringe benefits or bonus to make sure you haven't forgotten a step. So here is an example of sort of relevant parts for the fringe benefit checklist. There's going to be fields for your name, your client ID, your contact information, that kind of thing. But as you can see, there's a section up here. What's the fringe benefit type? Have you reported it before? That allows us to take a look at a previous year's example if we have a question. Got your tax coverage, your taxability, and then any codes that we need to fill in for you. And again, you can tell us how you want to enter it. If it's a small company, they may just hand key it with their payroll. If you have a spreadsheet, like I said, we can upload that into your pay grid for you. And then for the bonus checklist, the top part is going to look the same. Again, contact information, your client ID, that sort of thing. And here, excuse me, We've got scheduling. So is this going to be part of your normal payroll run? Is it going to be an off cycle? Is it going to be 2 different payments in the same date? There's section on here for, do you want us to suppress direct deposit? We have a lot of clients who run direct deposit. When it comes to bonuses, they want to give out a live check as a surprise. We need to block that, but you need to tell us that. And then tax coverage, deductions. Some companies change that up depending on what type of bonus it is and the size of it. And then also pay stubs. We can actually suppress alerts. So normally when you run a payroll, the employee gets an alert that says your pay stub is available. If you want to keep that a surprise, if it's all local, then we can do that as well. And again, the checklist just lets you look through a whole list of things to make sure you've covered everything or haven't thought of anything, and can let us know how you want to handle it. And then here's a quick list of resources and additional information. Again, at the end of today, I guess the recording is going to be uploaded. All the presentations will be uploaded. Under our website, under resources and help and guides is where you'll probably find this. We're going to try and load up some IRS tax tables, some other forms and information for you there. And again, our email and phone number. Okay. Kevin?
David, thank you so much for that. You can just set that on the microphone pillow. I didn't know it was possible to make fringe benefits both sexy and interesting. So this year we're doing something a little different. We are acknowledging that year end, both from a payroll and benefits perspective, but also with the holidays and everything, it can be a stressful time of year. The days get shorter and we're all working longer hours. And so trying to bring a little value to everybody here, everybody online, we're going to intersperse our seminar with some elements of exercises and routines that you can do at your desk. We're going to bring you some things that you can do to promote mindfulness and hopefully make fewer mistakes and do, get through year end with your sanity intact. So with that being said, it's my great pleasure to introduce Claire Norman from the Cameron K. Gallagher Foundation. Claire has a background in healthcare marketing. Was also honored to be the aunt of Cameron Gallagher. And Claire is Director of Mindfulness Education and is going to be bringing some of her perspective and some of just some great stuff for everybody here. So Claire, thanks for being here.
Yeah. Thank you, Kevin. I'm very happy to be here. And this place does feel like home. It feels like family. I do happen to be Grace Gallagher's sister. So I do have the great honor of working side by side with family, but for great purpose. And happy to share some interesting, I hope you'll find, information about ways to reduce stress or actually just change your relationship to stress. Because there are a lot of things about our lives that we can't control. We really, truly can't control the stress that comes into our lives quite often. But in particular today, because the theme of today's event is game plan, it's about kind of having some systems, some skills in place to sort of aid you as you move into the very busy time of year. And for those of you that I have the great pleasure of knowing personally, I am not the Real Housewives of Scott's Edition. I have had dental surgery. So I have a swollen mouth. So it's not plastic surgery gone bad. It's just I'm doing well and I feel great. I just can't smile, and I want to smile at you a lot. So just a little disclaimer before we get started. But today, my expertise, my background, and my passion is around the skills of mindfulness. But today, what I'd like to just layer on this idea of being in the zone. Have you ever been so focused on a task or been engaged in an activity to such a level that time really stood still and everything else fell away? So, and that allows you really this idea of really deep work with intense concentration. And what mindfulness can do for us is help make that flow state more accessible and better able to be experienced by you. And just down the road and in theaters across the country, there is a movie out right now called Free Solo. Free Solo is about a professional rock climber. His name is Alex Hanold, Hannold, and he climbed El Capitan, which is a mountain face in the Yosemite, 3,000 feet high, unassisted, no ropes, no equipment, just free climbed. And if you're like me and have trouble with translating what that means, it's higher than the highest building in Dubai. So he did this with 0 ropes and just free climbed his way up. And he really leans into this idea of flow state and zone state. I'm not suggesting any of our jobs require that kind of level of fear or stress, but there is something to that brain state that Alex has been able to get to often, and we do too. And just as a matter of background, I see a couple of people taking notes, and I love that. Thank you very much. Somebody thinks it's interesting. I will tell you, I have a handout with all of this information that Kevin has electronically. There's also articles sourced in the handout. So at any, just please sit back, relax, and enjoy the next 8 minutes or so about the information. So this flow state is actually, can be measured in brain waves. And any of us have actually attained that. The thing about the flow state is it has very little to do with the specific task at hand and more about the level of concentration. And what I mean by that is there are farmers who achieve this state. Alex Hanold, who climbs mountains, achieves this state. People in great poverty achieve this state. It has very little to do with money. It has to do with an ability to really focus and fully concentrate on your task at hand. And what drops out of the flow state is greater productivity. It's not meant to be the goal, but what drops out of that is greater productivity. But more than that, what we get out of operating in this state of being in the zone is we create for ourselves a happier life and a more engaged and vibrant life existence. So it's really a one-stop shop for some very wonderful ways to not only deal with stress, but get us to a place of feeling happier. So now that I've told you all about it, how do we get there? And how do we get there at work? It's a very good question. First of all, mindfulness is sort of a pathway to get to this flow state. That's in general. There's some drills and skills around that. I'll just kind of go over that briefly. But don't try to focus at work when you're hungry. That's the #1 thing. Hunger is a distraction. But also eat well. I'm not a nutritionist. I know a little bit about some things about high energy foods and inflammation and stuff, enough to be dangerous, but I'm not an expert. Fruits, vegetables, and nuts are wonderful go-tos to make sure you're not hungry when you go into busy season. Just keep yourself well-fueled. It's a good thing to do. Also, obviously cut out distraction. We have this term in mindfulness called we build the container. We build the container to be able to focus. And if that means taking the time to neaten your desk, to certainly either put your phone away or face down, whatever those distractions are, build the container to be able to get to the task at hand. If concentrating is really hard because life happens and we have families and things and chores outside of our work life, then there's something called the Pomodoro approach, and that's a 25-minute timer you set to stay focused on one task and then a 5-minute break. It doesn't mean you're good at it from minute 1 of the 25 minutes. It means you're walking toward it. So there's that sort of tricks that you pull into your actual approach to work and your approach to building the container. So that effect is actually also documented and something you can get to as well. Also, make sure you get enough sleep. We know that also so intrinsically about good health, good productivity. But make sure you're getting enough sleep as you go into busy season. And you're thinking perhaps, oh, I have to stay up late to get my work done. That might be true, but if you're in the flow and in the zone, your productivity will be higher. So another quick thing to say, many of us probably think we are wonderful multitaskers. Multitasking is a myth. It's actually impossible to do 2 things at once. Our brains are not wired that way. We can only do one at a time. We are serial monotaskers is what we are. And if we change too fast from one task to another, meaning 4 or 5 screens up, your phone here because you're worried about your children and all of this going on. They call this the refocus deficit. So if you have too many things going on at once and you're trying to serial monotask, you're going to actually have a deficit at the end of the day. So that's why these things really do help over a day, a week, or a month, higher productivity. The last thing before I mention mindfulness is a lot of this work is based on Dan Siegel's work, and you might know him. He does a lot of research around the growth mindset. If you take on mindful practice or a mindful lifestyle, that sort of starts at the top. Out of mindful lifestyle, you dump in emotional awareness, self-confidence, self-regulation, and at the bottom of a mindful practice is growth mindset. So mindfulness is not meant to actually reduce your stress. What dumps out of the practice is a better relationship with stress and then higher productivity. So what is this practice? It's as simple as doing simple things to be in the moment, focusing in a particular way without judgment. And these are, this is what I love to do. And if I had the mic and a lot more time, we could really get into some interesting things. But I want to mention 3 things and a couple of quick chair poses that will help you sort of refresh and redo before we move on to the next thing. So I'm leaving with you today a little how to take a mindfulness breath card. And it's a simple thing, but sometimes we need to know how to count and what to count to and how long to hold and then let the breath out. So this is just a simple thing to help you become quite aware of your breathing. It's step 1 toward mindful practice. Step 1 to flow state. We have to breathe, and breathe is a flowing kind of activity too. So we breathe in and out and really reduce the noise around us, and this will tell you how to tap into that awareness of just the breath, and you've begun. Just the breath, and you've begun. So mindful breathing certainly is a way to do things, to get things started in. The other thing we can do is to focus on sound in the room, and for about 30 seconds to key into the softest sounds you become aware of. That's sort of a way to drop out all of the other senses that might be aggravated by stimulation. So kind of drawing into sound for 30 seconds and then kind of re-entering the task at hand. So mindful breath, mindfulness of sound, 2 easy drop-in mindful things to do. Doesn't take a lot of training, but I'm leaving you a precious little card to put on your desk or somewhere in your container for productivity that might help you remember. But quickly, I also happen to be a yoga instructor, so I know about a couple things that help sort of reset the body to feel less stress in the moment. So if you'll indulge me in my chair, I'll show you just quickly a couple things that you can do, and just know your coworkers, if now that you've seen this, hopefully you will not think you're sick, I mean literally ill, to do this. So inversions in yoga are things that will help calm the mind and really bring things kind of into a better state of low blood pressure, and heart rate comes down. And what is an inversion? Your heart is above your head in space. I'm sitting upright like you are. My heart is below my head in space. Hold on. And then it wasn't. So just for about 20 seconds, if you allow the blood flow to reverse from your navel to your head and then come back down, you'll literally get a fresh blood supply to the brain. And your grandmother and great-grandmother were wrong. It's not going to cause brain damage to stay that way for a number of minutes. I know people who stand on their head for 20 minutes at a time, and it's not a problem. So our bodies are brilliant. They do refresh themselves. So just a quick thing, lean over forward. The other thing we can do, I'm going to put the mic down quickly. It's just a simple kind of side stretch left and right. Try to keep your chest in one plane, just up this way, stretching sort of the sides of the body, opens the back of the chest, and then be sure to do a quick little reach up just for effect. You kind of like lift it up out of your space and then easy back down. The other thing that's also very good to do is we call this chair pigeon pose. And if any of you have ever done yoga, this is a very common pose called pigeon, but it's a great stretch for that outer bent knee hip, releases a lot of tension, and leaning forward gives you that extra tug. And the last thing you can do here is just turn. Nobody knows you're doing it, right? You spend a few minutes for yourself. Last thing, because we spend so much time, wrists, hands, I'm going to be done. I know you probably want me to finish. I'm enthusiastic about this. So you stretch your hand forward and just pull back on your 5 fingers. Wonderful stretch for the wrist area. Take your 1 finger at a time. Really, set your shoulder and work the stretch on your wrist. It's really going to help flow anything that's really caught up in the wrist. So we have the bent knee stretch, we have the I'm not throwing up, and the stretch in the hand. So those are things that literally will help reset your body and mind. The other thing I like to mention is back bending. Back bending is something that will create a lot of energy in your constitution. I'm not suggesting, and I will not demo, anybody just get up and throw themselves back. But if you can stand up and draw your elbows together, look up at the ceiling, and then find something new up at the ceiling, and then find something new, and go back to you're just a tiny bit scared, and that's going to reset your energy up and down your spine. So I've been known to be in my own office and do a quick camel pose, which I won't do the full thing, but that's a simple kind of in this direction, and I don't think anybody would get upset if you did that here at DP or any of the locations around. So those are some quick body resets. I've given you a mind reset, and I hope I've given you a reason to explore the idea that your life can be in the flow, right? This intense concentration. Tonight, you will be in the flow, and I'll tell you when it is. Right before you fall asleep, our bodies and minds let go finally at the end of a day. And right before you fall asleep, and maybe tonight you'll be aware, but everything is in that one flow state. Everybody's body does this right before they fall asleep. Elite athletes, elite artists, and people that are well heeled in their field have the same brain waves that you have right before you fall asleep, with the only extra brainwave being the skill to do that task. So if that makes sense, the flow state is available to all. It's important to all, but all those people that kind of layer in the productivity piece and the one skill that it takes, that's the only difference in their brainwaves and yours tonight before you fall asleep. So it's there, it's accessible. Being mindful of these things about your mind and body will only increase awareness, and I promise you, you'll begin to see these small things start to happen. It's dose dependent. One time will be great. Over time, long-term effects last much longer. So that is part of the game plan, getting in your zone, being in a space of productivity, but that happens because you're flowing complete and deep concentration for the work at hand. And not every day is perfect, but we all did choose our work. So if people in extreme poverty can manage this place and get into the zone for being concentrating at a task at hand, even on the worst of days, the flow will set you free. So there we go. That's it for now. I wish I had more time, but thank you for this. And I do have articles and sources and things that I have sent to Kevin, and he can certainly share it with you guys if you like. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Claire. That was pretty great. I know that I'll be using some of those techniques and skills in the months to come. So at this point, we are going to bring up our Director of Benefits, the Big Hurt, Frank Thomas, coming up here to walk us through benefits and ACA compliance here at year end. So let's hear it for Frank Thomas.
Thank you. There might be a reason we have a anti-stress presentation before the word ACA compliance. Today, I am a member of the benefits team. Joining us are a few of our team members. You will be working with for ACA if you are using our ACA compliance services. One of our team members, our Richmond-based benefits specialists are AJ Johnson, Alex, Ashley Smart, Aaron Carlson, Jonah Lampkin, and Josh Orange. Hopefully those names are familiar to you. We try to keep continuity year to year, having an assigned benefits specialist, so it's a little bit easier. So what we're going to learn about today is what's new in ACA. I want to share with you the reporting deadlines that we are requesting. We'll do a quick recap of how to audit your information, so as you get to those deadlines, it's not stressful. There also will be a little bit of information I'll share regarding what if you don't do your ACA compliance correctly, and what to expect from that from the IRS, and share some resources and tools. So, show of hands, how many folks here know they need to comply with ACA? How many of folks are using our service currently? Good number. So that means there's a bunch of you that are not sure or are using another service. And it's totally fine to do your own ACA reporting if you have a different benefits module, benefits advisor who's providing that service for you. If you are unsure, I'll just review a little bit in terms of the requirements. The IRS requires an applicable large employer by definition that has over 50 full-time or full-time equivalent employees to offer affordable coverage. And as part of that offer of affordable coverage, there has to be some tracking reporting because if the coverage was not offered and it was not affordable, the employer is subject to employer shared responsibility penalties. So this can get a little tricky because some of our clients have multiple entities. And if you have multiple entities, each entity is not treated separately. If there's common ownership, they have to be aggregated together for those counts. We can assist you with reporting if you're unsure how many full-time equivalents you have. But if you have entities that are using another solution, maybe processing in a different part of the country and so forth, you have to understand what their employee counts to know if you are required to file. The calculation to determine who is a full-time, essentially the IRS is saying 30 or more hours worked in a week by a part-time employee is considered full-time. So not the coding if you say they're full-time or part-time, but how many hours did they work? And there's a, for offering coverage, you're allowed to have a measurement period. It's typically an annual period, and over that annual period, if the employee has over 30 hours, you should be offering coverage. And again, the iSolve system has this built-in reporting that will enable you to identify those employees prior to your open enrollment each year. The key things in terms of if you're not currently doing this reporting is there's a company level 1094. I think many people are familiar with that. And then the employee level 1095 form. The employee mandate is in effect for 2018. ACA, I think a lot of people have heard a lot of stuff in the news. It will probably be next year a lot more information in the news regarding changes. But the repeal of the individual mandate is starting for 2019, not for 2018. So, sorry. If you have a self-insured funding arrangement with your plans, you are essentially, as an employer, the insurance company. And the insurance companies have to report who's covered by insurance. And for self-employed companies that have less than 50 employees, they have to also file. It's a different form for the employee, a 1095B and a 1094B for the employer filing. If you are self-insured and over 50, technically you would have to give two forms. The IRS says if you're in that situation, the 1094C with Section 3 of covered insured dependents substitutes from having to do two forms. So we have many clients who have different types of funding arrangements. We code the system if it's a self-insured plan. So there are some other terminology that is used by the insurance companies, and it's always good to check to make sure that if you have like a partial funding or other descriptions, to make sure we have that coded properly for you. So again, all 50 plus must file. I put this slide up first because for employers who are less than 50, you know that, you're confident, you can kind of be in that mindfulness zone for the next few slides. So what's new for 2018? Last month, we anxiously awaited for the final forms in the IRS instructions. Did a comparison to the instructions last year and this year, and the instructions essentially are the same. And as a result, there is just a few things I would say that you want to maybe be aware of. First off, the penalties go up each year. Last year's $260 if you fail to give the employee 1094 form timely. This year it's $270. Likewise, if you don't file with the IRS timely, there's an associated penalty of $270. So ignoring ACA can be pretty expensive, $540 per employee. So you want to really make sure if you're not required to file so you don't incur those penalties. And the IRS granted a nice cap of $3 million or so. So it can add up. And if you're over $3 million, then you don't have to worry in terms of additional penalties. The final release date for iSolved is December 14th. There could be some system-related changes that come up in that release. We'll notify you if there is something required to be done differently. But the good news is essentially you have an automated system. If you maintain your employee data throughout the year, it should go pretty well. There is a little bit of change to the employee form. Last year, the name box was kind of one box. The IRS threw out a lot of errors called TIN errors in previous years if the name didn't match exactly what the Social Security Administration had on file. In an attempt to try to reduce those errors, they broke the name field into first name, middle initial, last name. That's mostly visible on the electronic files we send and the errors that we might get when we send those electronic files. But when you see the employees form, you'll see those three little boxes now. Also, addresses are required. It will cause an error when we upload a file to the IRS. If you're missing a zip code, we have to fix that and retransmit a file. And a few of the errors we were getting last few years were some employees have foreign addresses. The IRS now will recognize foreign addresses. So here it is, our deadlines. If you want us to set up compliance services for you this year, please notify us by the 1st of December. We've had clients that have notified us that they should have done ACA compliance for the last 3 years, and we can work with and file electronically prior years. We can file, and the IRS will accept late transmissions, but to get it so we have you set up and are timely with employee distribution of forms, if you could let us know by December 1st if you want us to set up that service for you. For our existing clients, we're asking for the forms to be approved by January 4th. That weekend, we would start looking for those companies and generating the forms, and we'll continue to do scans throughout the period right up until that January 31st due date. The electronic filing date is April 1st. Sometimes you get the employee forms, you find errors. That second date is real important because then if you can notify us, we make a correction, we get an electronic filing, and you can give the employee a corrected form. So this is a slide we've used actually for the last 3 years, kind of a mindfulness representation. And we wanted just to share a few of the basics that we share each year. What can you do now? Looking at your employee data to make sure you have complete information. The most important 3 items are on the next 3 slides. Your employment categories. If you have an employee coded as full-time and they're not really full-time, they're going to get a form if they weren't offered coverage and they went out to exchange, got a premium tax credit, you could incur a penalty because of bad data. So you want to make sure you have the accurate employment categories for your full-time and part-time employees. You want to look at your enrollment data in the system. It's fully automated to generate the forms, but it's fully automated looking at benefits enrollment data. So if your plan year is in the middle of the calendar year, you have to have an enrollment representing the first part of the year, a second updated enrollment for the second part of the year, and it should represent the correct dates. And you can go in at any point and adjust that information prior to us processing forms. The other is verifying your hire, rehire dates. We have some employers that have remote offices. They don't always know when an employee actually terminated. Sooner or later, someone says, oh yeah, by the way, they haven't worked any hours for a long time. You can go ahead and terminate those employees. So you want to make sure you have the correct termination dates. If the employee's terminated, again, went out to the exchange, took a premium tax credit, and they weren't an employee, but you're showing them as an employee, you incur a penalty. For the self-employed plans, in addition, there's Part 3 on the 1095 for covered individuals. You need to make sure that within iSolved, you update employee contacts for the dependents and attach those dependents to the enrollments. So you have a complete form. So, screen is cutting off. The key date, January 4th. The process to approve forms. If you do nothing, you'll get nothing. We'll probably be calling you up saying, have you approved the forms? Do you need help? We get real excited on the benefits team when a client pushes the button. We call it pushing the button. And, excuse me. So that approve forms, as soon as you click that button, it will date stamp who approved it in your organization. And we now keep a history of those. So let's say you approve, and of course, 10 minutes later, you find something, you've been going through your forms, and you find an error. We can unapprove that. You can go in, make a correction, and we can reapprove it. We don't immediately start printing forms when you do that approval. The screen example shows the year 2017. It should come up when you go into the approval screen defaulting to 2018. If you don't see 2018, let us know. We just need to make a little adjustment. So each year there's been some enhancements to support ACA processing. 2015 was pretty much a learning experience for all of us with the first ACA. There were all these codes that were not really easy to understand how they were generated. And there was also a lot of confusion in how to review your information. If you printed out all the forms for the employees, it's very cumbersome. So in 2016, the iSolved development team added a preview report, which is just an easier way to review your data than looking at the IRS forms. And it also did some validation. If employees have missing social security numbers, it gave you an error. If the address was incomplete, it gave you an error. Information like that. That made the process go a lot better. In last year the system big enhancement was to include ACA forms as paper electronic forms. And that had a tremendous impact in terms of enabling us to process more efficiently, but also I think from an employee's standpoint, a lot of employees get the forms that they're pitching them, but then maybe later they need to see them, and they can see them at any point through self-service like their W-2s electronically. And we are going to again encourage you as an employer to go with the electronic, encourage employees to opt in for the electronic filing. You'll save some postage from the company, but really the handling, that's a big thing. Also, last year we added on the external side of the forms the organization data. So if you are a large company and you break down the forms, you want to distribute it by department or not mail them out, you'll be able to do that. Some of our packages that we wrap up have multiple rubber band groups of employees, and it was like, well, what do you do with all this? How do you organize it? And hand sorting, it wasn't very friendly to do that. For this year, because there really isn't significant changes, we did have just a minor enhancement to the overrides. We have a few employers that have very unique benefit plans, how they calculate the employee cost. And as a result, they go into the system and do overrides for those employees. It's just an efficient scenario. Or sometimes you're almost done, you got just one correction, one code you want to fix for 1 month for one employee. The override screen lets you go right in there, put in that change, it saves it in the employee's record. And we sometimes, when we're down to the wire, are saying, why don't you just do that? That might be easier than doing other employee maintenance. So each year, what we try to do to prepare for ACA is try to identify employers who may have grown over 50 to try to make sure they have ACA covered. We do this, it's not intended to sell service, but to avoid having a client call us up and say, boy, we should have done this. Why didn't you tell us? And we also will distribute to you. Last year, I think we gave out paper copies of the IRS instructions. We'll be creating a ticket outbound. We'll give you the new instructions. It's pretty easy to search Google and find them on IRS, but we'll provide those. Plus, we have a little guide that can be used to kind of just checklist walk you through what you should be doing to review the employee data. Okay, so really of the next steps is start previewing your forms. They're available. You'll see 2018. They'll look exactly like the forms will look at that will be generated after you approve the forms. So just to kind of recap, main takeaways, December 1st, let us know if you needed to be set up, you didn't have the service set up previously. By January 4th, we're asking you to push the button, and by January 31st to make sure you distribute the forms to employees or have them postmarked. By April 1st, we do the final batch of clients that we will be filing electronically. Review your instructions, verify your data is updated in iSolved, and watch for a ticket from us on updates. And in that realm, last year at this time, we were saying the same dates, but it turned out that the IRS basically is an automatic extension of 30 days. So that will be one of the things that we'll be watching for and advising you. If we have that extension for 30 days, you pretty much have an extra month to enjoy reviewing your ACA forms, or you can approve them right away. The enforcement action that if you fail to file, last year at this time I was saying, well, you should be starting to see notices from the IRS for errors, employer shared responsibility payments for the filing year 2015. It took the IRS a while to get those going. They spent almost an entire year getting out the 2015 notices. And on, I think it was Tuesday, we had a new client was using another service for the tax year 2016, and they got a notice and were a little panicked because it was about a $500,000 employer shared responsibility payment. And they weren't comfortable that their prior service did what they needed to do. So the reason I bring that up as an example is you probably want to alert whoever gets your IRS mail to watch for these notices. Even if you filed, you might have somebody who went out and claimed a premium tax credit. You may have to go, as a result, provide information that you offered affordable coverage and so forth. The notice is called Letter 226J, and there's a few post presentation add-ons kind of describing the process, what to do if you receive a 226J. The first and most important step is look at the response date, and it generally is going to say it's 30 days. And my recommendation to everybody is call the IRS and ask for an extension and get an additional 30 days, because typically it's going to require time to review your data and to prepare the best response so you don't incur or pay employer shared responsibility payments more than you have to. The IRS takes advice from the IRPAC, the Information Reporting Advisory Committee. It's sort of like the NFL owners giving advice to the NFL league. They have a lot of influence. And for the last, probably even before ACA, they have given advice to the IRS that the time allowed should be extended. And last year, the notification from the IRS back was on December 22nd, sort of like a Christmas present saying you get an extra 30 days. So we won't know until next month whether or not January 4th is the date or if you have an extra 30 days. IRPAC also recommended that good faith effort, the penalty relief be extended so that $570 per employee form penalty. If you did pretty good on most of your forms and can substantiate that you had good faith effort to file accurately, you should not incur a penalty. And that's another recommendation, but it's as of right now, you could be subject to a penalty. In 2019, the individual responsibility penalty goes down to 0 for employees. What does that mean? The IRPAC is suggesting there be a simplification. Will the 1095 form go away? Don't know. But the employer detail will still be required, so there'll still be compliance on the employer side. Employee side, possibly not. If for some reason the IRS does not extend an automatic extension, and you know you're going to have trouble meeting the January 31st date, you can do a Form 8809. Whoever is designated with your IRS as an authorized contact can go online, fill that form out. It's very simple. It's probably a 15-minute form. That will allow you to get a 30-day extension. If an overall extension is granted to all employers, you cannot add this on in addition to that. So, but if you are struggling and you want to be safe, you need to file the 8809 prior to the due date. So I mentioned that we have designated benefits specialists. If you send a question into this, our payroll service, they'll route it over to our benefits team. If you send it direct to the benefits team, our system will route it to your assigned benefits specialist for follow-up. It gets a little hectic for us, and we try to respond daily, but as we get down into the January 10th, 11th, 12th, it may take us a few days to respond. So we'll probably acknowledge we got your request, but if we have to do some researching, it may take us a few days to respond. So there's some links for some additional resources. And after last year we referred to that we were recording some instructional videos. These are going to be available for you. They are 5-minute quickies. We didn't go into detail, okay, here's how you do things step by step, because back in the room there, Ashley recorded these for us last year, and they're really good. They don't take much time. It's just like kind of gets you into the mood, into the process. The last video is from our technical partner, iSolved, and it gives a little more in-depth review of the reporting that's available for you. It's about 20 minutes, not real time-consuming. So we have an extra segment as part of the presentation that will be posted, but I'm at my time. So having said that, I'll turn it over to Kevin.
Frank, thanks so much. Hey, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I did want to see if there were any questions in the room. I know this is complicated stuff, and the last thing that we want is anybody to get hit with that $3 million fine. So just real quick, I just wanted to open it up to the room. Show of hands if you do have a question. Cool. All right. Just wanted to make sure, because the importance of this stuff, and really we just want to make sure that we've got everybody the information that they need. So let's give Frank a round of applause. Thank you so much, Frank. Really appreciate it. I have just been informed there are different deadlines for Nashville and Texas, and the benefits specialists will communicate those. So not so much everybody here in the room, but online, those resources will be made available to you. All right, so like I said, it's important stuff. It is not the most exciting stuff. We want to move, continue with our program and move to talking about some simple exercises and stretches that you can do at your desk. I'm sure you guys have heard the phrase, sitting is the new smoking. We're all apparently just, dying. There are certain things that we can do to stretch and be active, and it's just pulling a little bit of time where you take your eyes off the screen. And I am really excited to be able to introduce Tiffany Copeland, Program Manager for Fitness Warriors at Sportsbackers. We're really excited that Sportsbackers actually became a client this year. And so it's an awesome partnership that we're really proud of and excited about. And Tiffany has so generously offered to give us a couple examples of things that we can all do every day to just combat that sitting and the stress that comes from it. So everybody, thank you so much, Tiffany.
Thank you, Kevin. Hi again, my name is Tiffany. I'm the Program Manager for Fitness Warriors. I've spent the last 12 years of my career here in Virginia at Capital One. So I completely understand the work you do as far as sitting and being at your desk for the majority of your day. What I'm going to show you are some things that I helped to combat my own health disparities while I was working at Capital One. Everything we're going to do is very simple, so I ask you if you want to join in. That'll be kind of the easiest way for it to stick to your head. First thing, I don't know about you ladies, but when I get to work, normally I kick my shoes off. I'm at the desk all day. There is no need for the heels. They're cute when you get there, but if we're sitting, let's just be comfortable. So you want to start with your feet as flat to the floor as possible, which might cause you to come up off of your seat. So as you can see, I'm a little bit off of the chair, but I'm solid. So my feet are solid on the ground. And we're going to start really simple. Coworkers might think you're a little nuts, but we can start by looking. So we'll take a look to the right, take a look to the left, another look to the right, one more to the left. So we've already started opening up our necks. We can take that up a notch by looking up to the ceiling, bringing it down to the floor, again up to the ceiling, and down to the floor. So with these exercises, I would normally go for about 5 or 10 rounds, but for time purposes here, we'll keep it nice and simple. Now that we've engaged our neck and kind of woken those muscles up, we're just going to go into a nice, gentle circle. You want to drop that chin down to your chest and just nice and easily, in whichever direction is comfortable for you, complete a full circle twice, and then take it back in the opposite direction. All right, bring that head back to center, head back up, eyes up. Bring those shoulders up to our ears to help us remember our posture, pull it down. Again, up to our ears. Now when we're bringing them down this time, try to rotate those shoulders back. like you're pinching a pencil between your shoulder blades. So one more time, up to the ears, rotate your shoulders nice back. You feel that difference in the back. Now we're gonna start to engage that part of our body. Nice and simple twist. You place your outside arm on your opposite leg. You can grab the back of the chair to kind of force the stretch a little bit, but nothing should hurt. So nice and easy. Awesome, hold that for a second. Let's switch sides. All right, we're going back to the other side. You guys are doing awesome. Open that back all the way up. One more time. All right, let's take our arms straight up by our ears. Want to reach up as high as you can, like you're being pulled. You feel that opening. Go ahead and drop your right arm. So I'm going to go ahead and drop my left arm. Just go ahead and lean towards that dropped arm. This will help to open up the spine. And let's bring that back to center. Let's go over one more time. And back to center. Good job. We bring our left arm back up to meet the right arm. And go ahead and drop that other arm and lean over. So that pull along the side, make sure you're breathing. Sit straight back up. And one more time to that side. Good job. All right, bring that down. Let's go ahead and lower our arms. Do some shoulder rotations. So we take those shoulders back. This helps to open up our posture and open up our chest. Make sure that we're breathing nice and deep. Awesome. All right. So now we've opened up the upper part of our bodies. Let's work on our arms because you're on the keyboards and the mouse all day. So our arm comes straight out. Take one arm in front of the other. Cross up to hook it. You're gonna hold that. But while we're here, we're gonna combat some other issues. We're gonna work on our wrist, pointing down, flexing up, and down, and then back up. Now lean it to the side, towards your thumb, and then towards your pinky. Towards your thumb, and towards your pinky. Good job. Go ahead and bring those arms down. Same thing on the other side, so our arms are coming back up. Going across, locking that for the shoulder pull. Palms up, and then down, up, and down. Again, run this up. We're going to turn towards our thumb, then towards our pinky, then towards our thumb, then back towards our pinky. Let's go ahead and bring those down. And with our feet flat on the floor, let's go ahead and engage our lower body. Hands on those thighs. We're just going to walk down towards our feet to wherever it's comfortable. That's that inversion that Ms. Claire was talking about earlier, where our heads can come down and help to bring that blood flow to the brain. Deep breaths, and then go ahead and walk those fingers back up your leg. And we're gonna do that one more time. Again, just nice and gentle. We're walking down our legs with our hands, bringing our head down between our legs, allowing that blood to flow and open up our brain waves, and we're gonna crawl right back up our legs. Nice and gentle. To take that stretch even deeper, if you straighten one leg, whichever leg you like to choose, and then just focus on crawling down that foot. You'll feel the pull coming up the back of your hamstring on that leg. Good job. Let's walk that back up. And let's do that one more time. Let's walk that down. Good job. And let's walk that back up. Let's bring that foot back flat. And extend our opposite leg, and we're doing the same thing on the opposite side. We're just walking down to stretch that leg and walking it back up. And one more time, we're going down and we're coming back up. Awesome. Now for my ladies, especially our feet, it's very important. It's one of the places in our bodies that we actually don't stretch. If you just take your feet and go up on your toes, and drop them back down, then back up on the toes, and back down. The other thing I ask you guys to do is just, like you're tucking your toes, and you'll feel that stretch right up the front of your foot. It kind of extends all the way up the shin, help to open up all that in the body. So just taking a few moments while you're at your desk just to do a couple stretches. My favorites by far at Capital One was my neck stretch, because I was always facing that computer, and then those side stretches, you'll feel it especially. If you guys have additional time, I encourage you, I always carry sneakers with me during your 15-minute breaks. If you can, get up, walk around, get the body up and moving again. It's important to kind of separate from work from time to time to give that mind a moment to regenerate. So we understand that fitness isn't always easy and it's not always accessible to everyone. That's the work that we're doing here at Fitness Warriors, is just trying to infuse fitness everywhere we can so it's free and accessible to as many people as possible. So we train volunteers free in the community to teach free fitness classes at community centers, at libraries, all across the Richmond and Tri-City areas. So I do implore you guys, please, if you have a moment, check out the Sports Backers website, sportsbackers.org, and join in one of our free fitness classes, okay? Wish you guys all the best. Thank you.
How great was that? Tiffany, thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was fantastic. I don't know that I'll ever get tired of seeing everybody zombie arm, move forward. All right, so if everybody will just lace up, tighten your laces. We're gonna do a quick 5K. No? All right. Let's hear it for Tiffany one more time. I thought that was fantastic. All right, at this point, it's my pleasure to introduce Nathan Lukeson from our sister company, Reliable Payments. He's going to give you guys a little insight onto what they do as far as credit card processing here in Richmond, Virginia. So, Nathan.
First sister from another mister.
There you go.
Well, good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing? How do you follow Fitness Warriors? Well, anyways, my name is Nathan Lukeson, and I am with Reliable Payments. We are the in-house merchant services provider for Dominion Payroll. I know that your brains are 100% focused on year-end, so I appreciate your time, but we can definitely help you guys manage a very large business expense that a lot of you guys are probably having to deal with right now. How many of you guys know what credit card processing is? Do you all have to deal with it? I'm sure that some of you guys don't, but awesome. Well, we are committed 100% to helping you guys manage that. Also, we are providing industry best service as well as pricing. If you don't currently use us to do your credit card processing, we provide you guys with a zero obligation, 100% no obligation, side-by-side analysis of your current processor so that you can get a good idea as to what you guys are currently paying as to what you could be paying. If you use QuickBooks to manage your business, we seamlessly will integrate into QuickBooks so there will be zero hiccup in your day-to-day operations. So that's a huge feature that we love to talk to business owners about. In addition to that, our platform has got tons of useful tools that help make credit card processing seamless and very efficient for your businesses. So I know that you guys have my business card and your swag bag, so I would love to catch up with you guys offline after the meeting, and I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Nathan, thank you very much. Like you said, his business card is there in your swag bag, so feel free to reach out. So we are getting towards the end here, and it's with tremendous excitement that I bring our company controller, Ken Fetzer, to the stage. He's going to be talking about W-2s. Yeah, come on, guys, let's hear it. Definitely going to be some of the best graphics of the day.
Hello? Can you hear me? Thank you guys so much for sitting through this. This is the last part of content, so we're going to knock it out. And we really appreciate your focus and everything. I did want to quickly say one thing about Claire's presentation with getting in the zone. I've been kind of doing some mindfulness practicing for the past few years, and one thing, if you do want to try to get into it, at the beginning, it's really easy to want the results right away. So like when I first started, I would try to quiet for 10 minutes, and then, if I was stressed out, I'd go be quiet for 10 minutes, and then I'd expect to just feel better right away. But I've learned over the past few years that you get really, really good results if you can do a little bit each day. So you'll feel the effects, hours, even days after you do some practices. So just something that that I really liked hearing from Claire. So, and then the other thing I wanted to say, because John was saving his thanks for next Thursday, but But we all wanted to thank Andy and Kevin and Jordan and Angie and everybody involved with putting this seminar on. It's a lot of work. They set up this AV equipment like yesterday. We got brand new stuff in. It was a lot of work. So thank you guys so much for putting it on seamlessly. So the future is now. Why is the future now? Because the big thing that I'm going to talk about is paperless W-2s. No paper, no problem. And as the name sounds, your employees can opt out of paper W-2. So if they check a button, it flags a setting in our system and we don't print a paper W-2. Instead, they log on to their employee self-service portal and they can download their W-2. So real quick, some highlights. Basically, the way it works is when your employees log into their ESS portal, how many people are using ESS? Okay, not everybody, but almost everybody. If you're not on ESS and you want to get this set up, that's fine. And so the way that it works is that the first time your employee logs in, they're going to get greeted with a message. That message is actually that. It says electronic delivery of tax forms, and at the bottom it says I accept or I decline. If they click I accept, then that flags our system to not print a paper W-2. So that's basically how this procedure works. And, ooh, cool. Each employee must consent. So the IRS is very adamant that you can't just flip the switch for the whole company and just say, we're not printing paper W-2s. Every employee needs to read this verbiage and accept to it. The highlight is that the setting saves for future years. So we rolled this out last year. If your employees accepted last year, they don't have to go back and do it again. They're good for this year and going forward. One thing that's very smart is that terminated employees, as soon as you terminate the employee, it automatically switches them to paper because you don't want to be tracking down, somebody that moved across the country, you deleted their email, it'd be a mess. So terminated employees get paper W-2s. There is an inactive status. So there's 3 statuses that an employee can be in iSolved: active, inactive, and terminated. Active and inactive can get electronic W-2s. But once you go to terminated, then they're getting paper. And then I use W-2s just for simplicity, but it does apply to 1099s and Frank's 1095s. So they're all, when you flip the switch, it flips it for all. Again, this is the message that they see when they first log in. We can actually quit that. One thing to know is that if you're trying to get your employees to consent, they need to do so before the last payroll of the year is processed. So if they are flipping the switch in mid-January, it's not going to do anything. That will save it for next year, but as far as this year, they need to get in and consent to that before the last payroll of the year. So we have a website page dedicated specifically to this topic. It goes over everything that we're going to talk about today and more. It's got some frequently asked questions. And the one big thing that it has is sample emails that you can send out to your workforce, because we can't send an email blast out to all your employees. Only you guys can do that. So we've created kind of a sample email that explains to them what it is, what they can expect, and that way, you can communicate to them very easily. You don't have to explain to everybody. We've created an easy template. And those sample emails are on this webpage. This webpage can be accessed through your quick links when you first log in, and we're going to make it available on dominionpayroll.com. So you guys as admin can run a report to see which employees have consented to this. So if you have 100 people, you run this report, you've got only 5 people that haven't done it. You can go to those 5 people and say, hey, can you do this? It would be great. So that's under client reports, and it's called the electronic tax form delivery status report. And just to show you what it's going to look like, it is an Excel spreadsheet that pops up. And the first column says year-end delivery consent date. So if you see this column and the employee is not terminated, then you know that they are not getting a paper W-2. So it's a really quick and easy overview to see which employees have done this. And again, that's in client reports, electronic tax form delivery status. So this is a big thing that we're expecting, and this is in that sample email, because an employee might have logged into their ESS portal months ago and they don't remember what they chose, because that message pops up. They're just trying to get through to the next screen. They don't know. So they can actually go in right now. On the top left, they click on this little drop-down menu, and there's electronic delivery tax forms. So if they click on that, let's see what happens. So if they originally clicked accept, it just tells them that. It says, hey, you've accepted, you're getting electronic W-2s, you're good to go. If they originally clicked decline, it brings that original message back up, so then they can accept at that point. So if they originally clicked decline, all by themselves, they can log in and change their setting. However, if they originally clicked accept and now they want to change their mind for whatever reason, this is probably a pretty rare situation, but if they originally consented and now they want a paper W-2 for whatever reason, unfortunately, that is when you guys have to get involved. They cannot do that themselves. They contact you and they say, hey, I want to remove my consent, and you guys will go into their employee maintenance screen, and in the field year-end consent withdrawn, you'll just put the date, and that will withdraw their consent. So again, if they originally clicked decline and now they want to accept, they can do that themselves. If they originally clicked accept and now they want to back out of it and get a paper, they're going to need to contact you. So a little break in the content for some Thanksgiving conversation topics. Some fun facts is that ancient pay stubs in Egypt and Mesopotamia used to be paid in beer and other commodities. And we have a kegerator in the back, so I don't know if they took a page out of the playbook. The first minimum wage was set in 1938 at 25 cents. So we'll be thankful that it's 2018. And the largest employer in the US is Walmart. I did not know that. And a distant, very distant second is the Army with 760,000. So that's pretty significant that they're leading the field by quite a bit. All right, so Thanksgiving, check. December 28th, as David Hassick mentioned, is the last day to process your 2018 payrolls. That is a Friday. The 31st is a Monday. So the 31st is a Monday, so we like you to process, in advance as possible, but we'll let you process through the end of that week. That would be ideal. This is a big date right here, January 7th, because this is when our paper W-2 packages go out, and it's also when we make the employee self-service W-2s available for the employees. And this is in the sample email, but basically what's going to happen is the employee gets an email and it says, hey, your W-2 is now available for download. So on the 7th, that will prompt them to go in and log in and get their W-2. We do have, so this is one of the earliest times we've put this date. We can change it on the client level. So if you don't feel comfortable letting them have it that early, then we can change it for your company. So if you want to double check, or you're waiting on some fringe benefits, whatever, we can change and push that back. But we found last year that some people were getting their paper W-2s before the people that chose electronic could access it. So they were kind of upset that the people that got paper could see it before they could. 25th is you'll definitely have your paper W-2 package before that date, and then everybody knows W-2s need to get to your employees at least postmarked by the 31st. Real quick, this is an awesome new website that Andy created for us. It's basically useful if you hire an employee in like a new state, because what it does, it has an interactive map of the United States, and you can hover over whatever state and then click on it, and it brings you up the tax account registration links and also the exemption forms, like the VA-4, but for some other state. So this is a really cool, very useful for us website that Andy was able to get up. And so to find that, this is our homepage. So resources, forms, or just go right to dominionpayroll.com/forms. So it's very handy if you are thinking about hiring somebody in DC or North Carolina, so, you know, new territory. The other thing I quickly wanted to mention is now is kind of the time that the tax agencies send letters out informing companies of any changes to their 2019 tax accounts. So for example, unemployment rates, deposit frequencies, and just want you guys to be on the lookout for those, and you can scan those into tax@dominionpayroll.com, because keeping your accounts up to date is #1 priority. The tax changes as far as Social Security wage base going up to $132,900 this coming year. 401k contribution limits are going up to $19,000. Catch-up stays the same. And IRA contribution limits, it's been at $5,500 for quite a while, and it's actually going up to $6,000 in 2019. Social Security and Medicare are the same. 6.2% for employee and employer. Medicare is 1.45%. For employees, once they hit 200,000 for Medicare, they have to pay an additional 0.9%. That does not apply to the employer portion. So if you have some high earners and you're looking on your payroll summary and you see that your employee Medicare wages are higher than your employer Medicare wages, this could be an explanation for that. Don't panic. We'll go into some more Thanksgiving conversation real quick. In Sweden, parents are entitled to 480 days paid of parental leave. It's pretty cool. And each parent is entitled to 90 of those days. In Germany, you can't go to church unless you pay the church tax. That's deducted out of payroll. And they also want to know your religion on your employment forms. It's a required field, which is kind of crazy. And this last fact is actually pretty interesting with our facial hair fundraiser, because in the 17th century, Peter the Great had a beard tax. Andy and I were talking about this yesterday, and if you paid the beard tax, then if you paid it, they give you a medallion that you put around your neck. And so when they ask you if you paid the tax, you lift up your beard and they see your medallion. And if you don't have that medallion, they just hack off your beard on the spot. So I asked to see Andy's medallion yesterday. And that led into another conversation that was... this is the last thing we're going to talk about real quick, is the work opportunity tax credit. If you're not familiar with it, it's basically a federal tax credit that There's a few targeted groups that have some barriers to employment. There's actually a lot of targeted groups, but the big ones are qualified veterans, Title IV recipients, ex-felons, food stamp recipients, and they all have kind of little qualifications under each targeted group. But if you have any employees that might qualify for any of these groups, then what you do is you have them fill out an 8850, and that 8850 is basically a form that asks them the questions that will figure out if they're a targeted group or not. So most of our clients that do this have the employees just fill out the paper form. We do have the ability in employee self-service to turn on a WOTC switch, and it will lead them through the questions on this form. So right on employee self-service, it will tell us if they are one of these WOTC groups and that the company is eligible for the credit. And then what we can also do for you is we can give you, because there's certain criteria, like the longer that the employee works for you, the more credit they give you. So we can keep track of all these calculations that the employee is making and figure out how much credit you're eligible for at the end of the year. And we can give you the information to go on this tax form. This tax form is what you submit with your corporate tax return, and that general business credit form, it attaches to that. So we can help you get the numbers for that. And I think that is all I have to say. And we're actually going to open the floor up for questions about this presentation and about any of the content that you saw today. So please feel free to ask some questions now while we're talking, or on your way out. We have a bunch of our specialists that can ask specific questions. We have a question.
So she's asking if these resources in the PowerPoint are going to be available on the website, and I can tell you, yes, they will. No, everybody will get an email, and we'll circulate this info with everybody. If I could, real quick, I just wanted to talk about the electronic delivery of W-2s and tax forms. One aspect of that we're really proud of, obviously, first and foremost, it's the convenience for everybody here, payroll professionals. But as a company, we're looking at, 2 years ago, printing over 100,000 pieces of paper, all the ink that goes into that, all the miles driven to get that to our clients all over the country. So the more that we can rely on electronic delivery, the impact that we have on the environment is huge. I think last year alone, we reduced it by about 30,000.
Yeah, so for the statistics, last year, we were one of the first service bureaus last year to roll it out, because they just released the functionality in like October. So we were all ready and we got everything out, but we only had like a month or two to get the word out. We've set up as a default for everybody going forward. So last year, we probably had 25% of our W-2s go electronic, and this year we are almost at 50%. So that's 100, pretty much what Kevin said, 100,000 pieces of paper is now 50,000 pieces of paper. So it's pretty substantial.
Looks like we've got a question in the back. I'm going to come to you with the microphone, and we'll throw this to Ken.
Will the W-2s be mailed to the company or to the employees directly?
Great question. The question is, will the W-2s from here be mailed to the employees directly, or will it go to the company? And I don't think I mentioned this, but that January 7th date is a Monday. So when you run the next time you run payroll after January 7th, you normally get a payroll package. You will have your W-2s in a separate package, rubber banded together. So you'll get, the answer is the company will get the W-2s, and then it's your responsibility to distribute to your employees. And if you're like a green company and you don't get a payroll package at all, you running payroll will trigger us to send your paper W-2s.
Great question. Is there anybody else in the room that has any questions? Check over here if we've got anything online coming in. Okay.
Do y'all still do the CDs like end of the year?
Yeah, everything is electronic and going to be in iSolved. All right. Everybody, thank you so much for taking a couple hours out of your day, braving the nasty weather out there. Everybody online, thanks so much for tuning in. I hope that you guys got a lot of great value out of this. It really is our pleasure to host everybody, and we are happy to answer any client-specific questions. Anybody out there on the World Wide Web, please write into training@dominionpayroll.com. Thank you. All right, thank you all so much. I hope you have a stress-free and wonderful year-end. Happy holidays to all. Thank you very much.